So I threw this up on the slide after Madhu's talk yesterday, and in a lot of the plenaries we've heard about this idea of achieving 30 by 30, and in order to do that, Indigenous and community conserved areas are going to be really important. In our work, both through the SMART Partnership and through the North Carolina Zoo, we do work with a lot of communities. We work with Save the Rhino Trust here in Namibia, with several Indigenous groups in northern Canada. And so this is something that we're working with in our day-to-day, but then also as a partnership we recognize as a priority. Right, and so this 30 by 30 target requires 30% of the world's land to be conserved. And in that official declaration, there's a recognition of the role of Indigenous and community conserved lands, the role that they have to play in reaching this target. Right, so Indigenous peoples manage a quarter of the world's land area, and as many of you know, or probably all of you know, the effective conservation of sort of a traditional protected area is already difficult. We're already short rangers, we're already short resources, we're already short capacity. And so if we're going to expand to meet this target, it's not going to be exclusively through a traditional protected area setup, right? We need to be taking advantage of other effective area conservation measures. And the role of Indigenous and community conserved areas is critical in order to do that. And so today, throughout basically the rest of the day, there's going to be several blocks of people from around the world talking about how them and their organizations are working in order to do that. So in the first section, we're going to have presentations from the Save the Rhino Trust here in Namibia, from the Lion Rangers also in Namibia, and from Panthera in Zambia. I'm going to let the partners introduce themselves. After the coffee break, we'll have a presentation from the Canadian Arctic. It's a project that I've worked on, so I'm biased. I think it's a pretty exciting one. We'll have a presentation from partners in Ecuador, from Papua New Guinea, and then also from Cambodia. Then we'll have lunch, and in the afternoon, my colleague from Kenya, and Sarah will moderate the session, the last of the three sessions, and that'll focus on Kenya and Peru, and we'll end with a presentation from, start with Nigeria, then Peru, and then we'll end with a presentation from Kenya. And then after that, we'll try to get as many of the presentations back. I know people are really busy today trying to get meetings in, but we'll try to get as many of the presenters together, and we'll have a sort of informal discussion about lessons learned and challenges and opportunities, et cetera, from 2 to 3. And then hopefully people will want to stick around. We'll be talking for opportunities for engagement with the partnership, and then we'll be at the afternoon plenary. So we're really going to ride the wave through the end of the day. And these are some of the questions that we'll be talking about this afternoon. I'm not going to go into these now. I'll be chatting about these later. But I'm excited to hear from all of my colleagues today and to talk with them later this afternoon. So that's it from me. Just a quick introduction, and I'm going to hand it over to the folks from Save the Rhino Trust to take us from there.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lorna Dax, and I will give a brief background of our SMART journey. So Save the Rhino Trust operates in the Northwest, and we are responsible for the monitoring of the desert-adapted black rhinos. We work in an area that is an open landscape. It is an open landscape and not a formally protected national park. We work with communities in this area. Since Save the Rhino Trust started, our approach has been simple but effective. It has to do with collaborating communities, and this is what has made us successful. Our aim is to engage and empower communities and empower local rangers in monitoring the rhinos and becoming rhino stewardship. So we operate in an area of 25,000 square kilometers. We have 2 tourism concessions in these areas, and we work with 4 ethnic groups. There are also 2 additional conservation NGOs that we work with in this area. And across the landscape, we work with 14 communal conservancies. So when poaching escalated in 2012, we introduced the Conservancy Rhino Ranger program. The Conservancy Rhino Ranger program is where conservancies employ full-time rhino rangers. Conservancies pay salaries for these rangers. But as support organizations, we at SRT provide training for these rangers. We provide patrol equipment. We provide performance incentives like the sighting bonuses, field day bonuses, and we also provide uniforms. Apart from that, we are responsible to ensure that the teams are deployed on time, and the deployment schedules are also known by the respective conservancies. In 2016, although we started talking about SMART in 2014 at SRT, we saw the need to move to a more efficient data monitoring system where we shift from the paper-based Excel sheets. As you can see on the graph, just a brief idea of what the graph shows. The red line represents poaching and the bars represents effort. So as we can see, as the years go, the more effort we put in, we were able to reduce poaching.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mbaripo Tjiseua from Save the Rhino Trust, the data management officer for the Save the Rhino Trust. We are working with the 132 rhino rangers from the communal conservancies. 17 are females. We are the transport we are working with monitoring. We are doing vehicle patrols or foot patrols or mule patrols. Our mandate, we are doing rhino monitoring and rhino tourism and anti-poaching. After the rhino patrol, or after 22 days of the data used to be downloaded in my office. As you can see behind there, I'm sitting there behind my 2 computers in my office, downloading the data from the rhino rangers. Here is the example of how the record of that we got it from SMART. Like for example, when you are looking for, or when we want to know when Master Who was last was seen, so we go into SMART and go query or search for that specific rhinos, and everything will be pop up on the screen. Yeah, we are doing the measuring or the performance of the rhino rangers. We are doing according to the rhino sightings. We are doing the kilometers and field days for rhino rangers. Then we put it on the notice board for them to give them that, to motivate them or to know how they work how did they do their works. As you can see there, it's me and my colleagues next to the notice board. On the map is this the place where we covered or where we are doing our rhino monitoring. And the red line means that we covered, there is the area that we covered most. So we must reduce maybe so that we consider the other green line, the green line that we have to cover the most. I give it to my colleague.
So apart from showing our patrol efforts, SMART enables us to pull reports as well. The one on the left is our annual performance. So this is what we can actually pull from SMART and share with various stakeholders as well. It shows the field days that the rhino rangers have spent. It shows how many rhinos they have sighted in the year. And on the right-hand side, that dial allows us to see whether we are within our targets that we have set for the specific year. So since we work with different stakeholders, the report on the left-hand side also comes from SMART. It is Conservancy specific, so that is a quarterly report that we print out for the different conservancies that we work with, so that they can see also the effort that their respective rangers put in, and how worth the Rhino Ranger program is. The one on the right-hand side is our annual population assessment, which is done annually. And the ministry is one of our stakeholders. So this is what we share with the ministry. It gives all the data, monitoring data and details of the year. And this can actually help the ministry in population management decisions or scientific decisions regarding the black rhinos. A very exciting thing that happened for Save the Rhino Trust since 40 years of existence is, for the first time as Save the Rhino Trust, we have expanded to a completely new landscape. As you can see on the left-hand side of the map, that is where we used to operate for 40 years. And after 40 years of successful conservation, the ministry asked us to expand the Conservancy Rhino Ranger program to the Nyai Nyai Conservancy, which is on the right-hand side, the square that you can see. So this is testament to the good job we do. And if it wasn't for the successful Rhino Ranger program in Kunene, I'm sure it wouldn't happen. And it was all made possible by the smart data we collect. Another success was Save the Rhino Trust. We facilitated smart training for commercial partners, commercial custodians near Etosha, as they would like to implement smart in their work as well. Another useful thing for SMART is it enables us to see how the individual rangers perform, and also to recognize the rangers for the good job they do. So the SMART data we use at the end of the year for the annual Ranger Awards, where we recognize rangers for the good job they did. On the right-hand side, this is something exciting that we are planning to introduce very soon, hopefully. These are ranger trading cards that will have a picture of every ranger, and at the back it will show the number of years that the person has been a ranger, any awards that the person or the ranger has received over the years, and any form of training that the ranger has also received over the years. So this will be like a little like the football players' cards, so this will exactly be the passports for our rangers as well. Since we are a conservation NGO, we are mainly dependent on donor funds, but as SRT, we are trying to find ways to have sustainable financing for ourselves. So recently, we have introduced the smart-based financing mechanism, where the data that the rangers capture is loaded on a system. And when a specific ranger's efforts has reached a target, those efforts are minted into a certificate and it is uploaded on the platform, where any individual, any organization can just visit the website and buy the certificate. So usually donors fund work that was not done, but with the certificates, you will be supporting effort that was done already. Moving forward with SMART, what we hope to do is explore more options with the SMART patrol planning tool, so that this can guide us whenever we are deploying our teams. And also capacity building is something that is very important and needs to be carried out continuously. It never ends. So we plan to have continuous training sessions for the Conservancy rhino rangers as well as our trackers so that they can continue collecting quality data. And also we want to pursue smart profiles to advance our ability to utilize the rhino monitoring data more effectively as management as well. Coming to the end, I would like to thank all the partners and supporters, most especially the North Carolina Zoo, and a special thanks to Dr. Rich and to Dr. Drew for their continued support and assistance throughout the SMART journey. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was great. We are, my fault, running ahead of time. So I guess if there are any questions, we could probably take 1 or 2 questions for Mbaripo or Lorna. Any questions? No? Okay. We'll just, oh, nope, there is a question. Mike is coming.
Hi, Lorna. I like the idea of the playing cards. I'm just wondering, is the purpose of the playing cards basically donor funding? So are they going to be for sale for people to purchase, like overseas? Or is it mainly for a Namibian market? What is the idea of those playing cards? I just think it's a really neat idea.
Okay, I think I'll give that over to Jeff.
Thanks, Gail. A great question. Initially, I think the main goal here, again, as a motivational factor, is to allow the rangers something that they can share with their family and friends, first and foremost. So, you know, we'd raise money, we'd print out about 100 per ranger, and then they would be able to give them out in the community as again, just a way to elevate their status within their community. But I think the idea of possibly selling them at some point to raise more money to put back into the program through, you know, partners, lodges, I think it's a great idea too. So thanks for that.
Any other questions? Oh, yep.
Great presentation. I was interested in the sort of sustainable alternative financing mechanism you touched on. Did you find that was a way to, was it targeting sort of established donors, or did you find it was a way to reach new donors to promote your work and you know, attract new funding?
It was the idea to reach more donors as well as to give individuals opportunity to support our program as well. Because when we approach donors, it's specifically targeted for that donor, but we thought that once we put out the certificates on the platform, anyone can access and buy the certificates, and I think it also expands our funding options as well.
Thank you very much. And I will ask Mathilde to please come.
Okay, good morning. My name is Mathilde Brassine. I am the administrator for the Lion Ranger program, and I basically coordinate all Lion Ranger activities. So these are my colleagues. I'll quickly introduce them to you, and then they will, later on during the presentation, talk a little bit about their roles as well. and be available at the end also for questions. So to my right is Jendery Tsaneb from Tora Conservancy, and he is the patrol leader for the Eastern Conservancy. So I'll put up a map just now, but he basically oversees 15 to 20 rangers. Actually, it's even more. I think it's almost 30 rangers who patrol in joint patrols. And then next to him is Stephen Kasaona from Sesfontein Conservancy, and he's the patrol leader for the Western Conservancy. So he oversees roughly 15 to 20 rangers who do joint patrols in the Western Conservancies. And then last but not least is Benjamin Kordom from Doranawas Conservancy, and he oversees the patrols, the joint patrols in the Southern Conservancies, in the Southern Kunene and Erongo Conservancies. Okay, so you may notice that there will be quite a few similarities between the Lion Ranger program and the Save the Rhino program, the Save the Rhino Trust program. That is because the Lion Ranger program has been modeled off the Rhino Ranger program. And so desert adapted lions that live in the northwest of Namibia have seen some fluctuations in their population from a low of 20 in 1997 to roughly 150, although there was an estimate in 2018. And then in 2022, at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, the first ever lion population survey was done in northwest Namibia, and it came to a result of 57 to 60 adult lions. And then so the main threat to desert adapted lions in northwest Namibia is human-wildlife conflict. In 2017, this became such a problem that the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism decided to put together what is known as the Human Lion Conflict Management Plan for Northwest Namibia, better known as the Northwest Lion Plan. And the Lion Ranger program was part of this plan. So I'll hand over to Benjamin, who will describe a little bit about Lion Ranger duties, and then, just a little bit about the program.
Good morning. As you see there, we have the Lion Ranger program, where it consists of 49 Lion Rangers, 4 rapid response units, and we, as we're standing here, we are the 3 patrol leaders of selected conservancies. So the conservancies actually select their rangers that they send to Tosco. So as you see there, we have the single and joint patrols where we oversee. Normally, we as the patrol leaders, we oversee the single and joint patrols. So as you see there, we have our training that we usually give to the rangers. As you see, we have SMART, first aid, law enforcement, and well-being. As you see in the picture there was 2022 in Wadaberg, where we're having the law enforcement training. As you see there, we're also involving ourselves in the predator-proof kraals. There is the joint patrols as we have there. Thank you very much.
So this is a map of basically the Lion Range in the northwest of Namibia. It expands from the north, the Hoarosip River near Puros, all the way to the south to the Oegap River near the Brandberg Mountain, and then from the Skeleton Coast National Park on the west all the way to Etosha. And so it's been divided into 4 different clusters. This is for the purpose of the wildlife credits program. But so basically, Stephen is in charge of, I'm not sure if the laser doesn't work. Okay, so Stephen is in charge of the grey conservancies, Puros, Sesfontein, and Anabeb. Jendery is in charge of the red conservancies, Oropupa, Hirovipuka, and Omatendeka. And then Benjamin is in charge of the remaining 5 conservancies, Koadi, Tora, Doranawas, Sorisoris, and Tjiseua. You've got some figures there in the table also in terms of the population numbers of humans and as well as the surface area. And now I'll hand over to Jendery, who is more knowledgeable on the topic than I am, to explain to you a little bit about the early warning system.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will just take you a little bit through the early warning system. These are a couple of things that we have implemented for effective lion monitoring and communicating with farmers. So these are the tools that we are using to monitor lions and also informing farmers the feedback. So that on top there, we can see that's a lion. And next to the lion in front there, we can see some collars. And this one here is a rover. We call it a rover. It's been implemented in the cars so that we can do the monitoring. So as we can see in between there, that's an early warning tower. And those are predator-proof crawls. That's a map where we are monitoring the lion movement. So, and on the bottom there, we can see a phone there. So, and a vehicle down here. I'm just going to detail you about the rest of these tools, how they have been used. So we put the collars on the lions. So this information from the lion comes to the rover, goes to the tower, and to the map, and also to the phone. So how the rover works is to alert the rapid response driver. To alert the rapid response driver, so the information that is coming from the tower is going to the rover, and it will alert the driver of that certain vehicle. And then, as we can see underneath here, that's when we are responding to conflict, to monitor where the lions are. If they are in a farming area, then we try to use some measurements whereby we try to chase them back into an area where they are safe. So I'm just gonna take you through the tower, how it works. So this is a tower. As you can see on top there, there is a kind of like a small wire on top there. That's the antenna. It's to pick up the frequency of the lion movement. And underneath here, that's a solar. It provides, there is a battery underneath here. We put a battery. So it's charged the battery, and the battery, as we can see there are some lights on the tower. Those lights that are on the tower are in different angles, north, west, east, south. So whenever the lion is in that range, or in that area, that specific area, then you will see on top there are different colors that has been noted there. So the first one on top there is to detect. To detect is to pick up that information to show that there is a lion around that area. So sometimes it happens that the lion might be at a place where the tower is not detecting. It might be close to the homesteads, but then there might be a mountain, so this frequency cannot reach to the tower. So we see the blue light there. The blue one is 800 meters. 800 meters, it shows so basically what happens with this tower, we always put them at hotspots, at farming areas where there are livestock. So that if the lion is in that specific area, then the farmers can see that this lion is around this area. So, as I was telling you before, the blue light shows that the lion is in a range of 800 meters. The green one shows that 400 meters. The red one is a critical zone, even for the farmer to go out of the house, 200 meters. So this light goes on. As the lion is moving closer, for example, the one which is like facing to the north, will go on. So, but sometimes it happens that the lion might be in between, for example, west and the north. So both of them will go on. But then, as the lion is moving to a certain direction, one will go off and the other one will go on. So that's how the tower works. So whenever the lights are going on, there is a certain sound that is coming out of the system, which is alerting the farmers. So then we come to the map there. As we can see, there is kind of like a purple picture there. So you can see that this lion was, that purple area shows that those are farming areas. That way they keep livestock and things like that. So if it's in that purple area, that's where the rapid response comes and the rangers. So if it's in that brown area in the middle, that's a wildlife area. So there it's safe. So what happens is that, for example, if there's no rapid response driver, we get notifications as rangers. So our duty as rangers will go to that certain place. So these notifications that are coming into the phone, for example, it will show you like, for example, it will say 2.5 kilometers from Windhoek, for example. So Windhoek South. So from there, we as rangers will go into that direction, see whether this lion is still around that area or whether it has passed to the farming area. And then we look for options. We call the rapid response team, or there are also other people that are helping out, like the ministry and all the other NGOs. So that's where we come. So then we come to the predator-proof crawls. The predator-proof crawls, we had a small survey with the farmers to figure out what are the measurements that we need to take to prevent conflict. So after that survey, they say that, okay, now if for you guys are just thinking about lions, currently you're talking about lions, that's what you are thinking about. What about us? What about our livestock safety? That's why we started implementing predator-proof crawls to keep their livestock in the middle of the night safe. So as we can see underneath there are a couple of rangers doing their patrol as normal to figure out where the lions are so that they can alert the rapid response team. So if it's really that challenging, and we are seeing that now this lion is becoming a problem, we take other measurements. Underneath here we can see translocation. Take it to a different area where it will be safe. So I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jendery. So just to give you a little bit of a brief overview about how SMART is being used in the Lion Ranger program. It was first introduced in 2021. We had a trial or a pilot period for about 6 months when the SMART app was put onto some of the rangers' personal phones just to see, to get everybody familiar with it. And initially it was introduced to determine payments of bonus for performance-related bonuses for the rangers. Then in 2022, in April 2022, all of the rangers received training in Wêreldsend. They were all, in Waterberg at the time. They also each received a device. So each ranger has been provided with one Ulephone. Initially it was the Armor X7 Pro, now we're moving to Armor X11 Pro. So each ranger is entrusted with his own device. He's allowed to use it also for anything else, particularly WhatsApp, so that we can communicate with them. And we are now starting to introduce a new system where the device belongs to the program for 2 years, after which it then belongs to the ranger. And this is in order to improve responsibility and better maintenance, or better upkeep of the phones by the rangers. We have a system in place where they have to reimburse over a period of several months if the devices are lost or stolen. So it's quite intense on the rangers, and this is one way of paying back. So after 2 years, the device belongs to the ranger. And so some of the data that we are currently capturing on SMART includes lion sightings and tracks, human-wildlife conflict incidents, communications with farmers. This is one of the main aspects of rangers' duties. It's not just to patrol, but to actually communicate the movement of the lions to the farmers so that the farmers can take the necessary measures. It also records patrol team activity for payments of performance-related bonuses. It also records animal sightings, so not just lions, but also carnivores in general, prey and livestock movement, as well as carcasses, dung or scats, homesteads, so that we can determine conflict hotspots or potential conflict hotspots, as well as the presence of traditional and predator-proof kraals and whether they need maintenance or not, and then the presence of water, which helps determine also prey species movement. And so it's mainly been used to support decision-making regarding lion conservation, but also management of the lions at a community level. And so on a monthly basis, I send SMART reports to each of the conservancies who participate in the program, so that they will have information on the lion sightings in their areas, as well as on the performance by their own rangers. It also helps us determining where to move the joint patrols, and this is where the patrol leaders play a role. It helps them determine where they should move their patrol teams, as well as determine potential conflict hotspots and the positions of early warning towers. The SMART system was also used during the first ever lion population survey in 2022 that I mentioned earlier, and this was the only way we could log the effort, as well as to record the individual lion sightings locations based on whisker patterns. This is just a quick diagram of the flow of communication. So it starts at the top with collection of data by the rangers, which is then exported via Smart Connect. So we're using Smart Connect. All the rangers are using their own airtime or access to Wi-Fi in order to send their data, which needs to be exported latest 20th of every month so that they can receive their bonus payments. The data is then processed by myself, and then reports are sent out to various groups, including the leadership, the large carnivore coordinator, who is also part of the leadership of the Lion Ranger program, and then so to MEFT in general, as well as to the conservancy committees. On the side, you've got an example of one of these reports. And then those reports with all of the rangers' names are also sent on our WhatsApp group that all the Lion Rangers are part of, so that they can monitor each other, monitor each other's performance. So this I'll go through quickly because I think we've taken a bit too much time. So just this is an example of how they record lion sightings, including various aspects of the lions, and then they end up with a record of each individual lion, as well as human-wildlife conflicts. This is just a representation of what it looks like on my desktop. Sometimes I receive pictures of dead lions, unfortunately. Sometimes it's good pictures of lion sightings. Sometimes it's translocations and more sightings. And so this far, we've got 57 users making use of the app. We're using the latest version, thanks to Oliver's support as well. Oliver has been very instrumental in putting together the SMART system in the Lion Ranger program. In total, we have covered we have done, well, the rangers have covered more than 11,000 patrols, covering more than 110,000 kilometers on foot. Majority of patrols are on foot. In fact, the total kilometers by vehicle, or the total number of patrols by vehicle is, in total, all put together, is 15,000. So as you can see, more than 11,000 are on foot. So majority of patrols are on foot. And this represents more than 40,000 man-hours on the ground. Then at the end of every year, we've got a Lion Ranger Award ceremony. This is the one from last year, where the top performing rangers, Eso Matundu on the left, he came 3rd place. Renoveni Chawira, he came 1st place. And Kaipue Warua, who came in 2nd place. And then Jackson Kavetu, who was the top rapid response ranger. He works for the Namibian Lion Trust, who was one of our partners. And so the rangers received cash prizes, but they also received sheep. Last year it was sheep, the year before that it was goats. And this is because the majority of the Lion Rangers are also farmers themselves. And this allows them to be able to communicate better with the farmers who, in terms of how their experiences with predators and lions in particular. I think that's it. And I'm not sure if we've got time for questions. But otherwise, feel free to approach any of us afterwards.
We could probably do one question and then move on. If anyone has a question. Yeah? She's coming over. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm Newton from Kenya, working for Born Free Foundation. That was a good presentation. I have a question on translocation. In our country, translocation is still an issue because it is just transferring a problem from one area to another. So I'm wondering, in your scenario or your experience, how effective has it been or successful in terms of translocating these lions? And do you have like a protocol in place, probably post-release monitoring? How do you go about that?
So there's 2 people I forgot to mention when we introduced ourselves, who are part of the leadership program, is Mr. Uakendisa Muzuma from the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, who's just raised his hand, and John Heydinger, who is our research coordinator. And so I'll hand over the mic to them. They're better equipped at answering that question.
Yeah, thanks. My name is Uakendisa Muzuma from Ministry of Environment. Yes, we are following the IUCN guidelines before we are doing any translocation of any species. And then that is what is guiding us first. Yes, we know translocations, it takes time, one to sort of claim success. But currently, some of these translocations are soft translocation, just which is more dictated by you want to remove conflict or to ease the situation, whereby you remove the problem-causing individual species to a safer place while you are buying time. That's one of the criteria that we are looking at. And then secondly, then you look at which areas are suitable for that specific individual. For example, last month we translocated one male lion from Kwati Conservancy, where that individual was causing conflict, not because it was an individual that have been involved in livestock predation, but it was sort of like because it was dispersed from its pride. We moved it to an area where we found out there are a lot of female without male lions. So the situation currently is looking promising. because that was the, what the area can give us. So in nature, we only use the IUCN guidelines for translocation of most of our individual causing problem. And then if translocation is not an option, this is where the ministries coming in and say, okay, let's take other action. For example, declaring as a problem individual to be put down or trophy handed based on the other criteria that we're also following, whether it's suitable for being trophy handed. As we know in Namibia, we are doing sustainable hand harvesting of our resources for our community to benefit. I thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, now I'm going to introduce Gift Mulenga from Panthera in Zambia for the next presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having time to join this session. Is there any way it can be projected? Okay, thank you. Okay. It's on? Okay, thank you. My name is Gift Mulenga. I'm a data management technician from Panthera. So my presentation this morning is empowering communities with the knowledge to protect their wildlife using SMART in Nyansemu, Zambia. Of course, this is part of some community engagements we are doing in Zambia to learn more about the amazing work we are doing in relation to some of the community engagements. You can visit panthera.org, or you can scan the QR code. You'll find some amazing work we are doing to ensure the future of wildcats and their vast ecosystems they inhabit across the globe. I have a bunch of acknowledgements. First and foremost, special thanks to the community of Nyansemu, SMART, and North Carolina Zoo. Of course, please stop me, I only have like 15 minutes to do my presentation. So this is just basically the outline of my presentation. The most important part is the introduction, the location and context of Nyansemu, the role of SMART in what it does in empowering the communities in terms of collecting data, and of course, questions and answers. For me, the most important part is the presentation wind up. So without wasting much of your time, so I would like to give a bit of the background and introduction about the proposed Nyansemu. So in 2020, 4 chiefdoms in Zambia, of course in the southern part of Zambia, came together with one purpose goal of conserving their natural resource using a CBRIM approach, which is a community natural resource management approach. And out of those 4 chiefdoms, they selected 5 community conservation officers, CCO, who are responsible to collect data on their natural resources using SMART, and also engage with their communities. So basically, this slide is just showing the context of Nyansemu in relation to the whole Kaza region, of course, the part of Zambia in the Kaza region. The next slide will show a zoomed-in view where this proposed conservancy sits in relation to the whole Kaza region. Yeah, so that's the location of where this conservancy lies. As you can see from the map, this is Inyansemu next to Simala Conservancy. So it is comprised of 4 chiefdoms. So the proposed Inyansemu Conservancy crosses the gap between the park, the game management areas, and Simala Conservancy as the wildlife move from the park and also to the last part of, from the park to Inyansemu to Simala and also to the last part of the Kasaona region. Of course, the most important question is, why aren't protected areas enough? Of course, wildlife basically doesn't know any boundaries. They don't know where Zambia ends, where Namibia ends. And also, climate change and human expansion poses an intense pressure on this wildlife in terms of accessing some of the resources, and also some of the wildlife are mobile, and they operate over vast landscape. So from the left side of the slide, that's basically a map showing our koala cheetah, how it moves from the KNP to the GMAs, then also to the Conservancy, and also to the rest part of the Greater Kaviwa ecosystem region. So this slide basically is the inside of people of Inyansemu. This is basically how we have the traditional leaders, we have the children, women in conservation. So basically this is the inside of the people of Inyansemu. Then, I think I've skipped a slide, okay. Okay, so before I go to the law that SMART plays, I wanted to highlight some of the challenges we face in terms of the community and also the connectivities through the proposed Inyansemu. Of course, by far the most challenging and started in part is the sustainable use of wildlife, and also logging, deforestation, road construction. Roads poses a challenge in terms of accessing some of these areas, and also change of land use from forestry to agriculture and other forms of land use poses a challenge in terms of community conservation. And basically those are just components of a functional connectivity on a community level. And those are basically the pillars of community coexistence. And of course, the community themselves sit at the heart of the pillars of community wildlife coexistence. Of course, within the proposed Inyansemu, we have a program called Wildlife Value Program, which is a bottom-up approach conservation initiatives, and those are just basically the components of the Wildlife Value Programs. Then we have what we call the CNRMC. So these are just democratically elected committees that are fundamental to manage and protect their natural resource. So we have those in Inyansemu Conservancy. So this is the part where SMART comes into play and comes to be very important. Of course, each chiefdom has got a community conservation officers which collect and engage the community using SMART to monitor their wildlife, to monitor their sightings. Of course, we've been training this, the CCO since 2020 up to date. So this is where, for us, data is key, and we believe that if the community within and around the community, if the communities within and around their areas collect their data, that means that that data is part of them. It can be used for knowledge sharing, and the community can be heard, and it can also be professionalism, action, and observation, increasing capacity within the community. That's where SMART comes into play. Of course, we've been actioning some of, we've been training, equipping, supporting the CCO, and also engaging the local leaders to take part on how SMART is capable of doing, and also how SMART is capable in terms of collecting, analyzing, and displaying data. So those are just basically the decision makers, the headmen, the chiefs, and the ward councillors. So initially, the team, so this is just basically on a community-based level, and this is outside protected areas. This is an open areas, but the communities are using SMART to help them in terms of planning and understanding their outputs, in terms of where they do the patrols, in terms of the sightings they do, and in terms of the patrol pattern and the patrol car average. Of course, human-wildlife conflict are usually complex and multi-layered. So I won't go much into the details, but the people of Indian Semu are using SMART to collect HWC incidences and answer important questions like how, where, who, and who's affected. So that information we use, and we help them with that information to come up with certain mitigation measures, like putting up of predatory-proof bombers to keep their livestock. Of course, by far, elephants in these open areas are the most problematic animals, followed by lions, leopard, and these other herbivores. So basically, that's just a map of how the community use SMART and map out their allocation in terms of the HWC incidences. So I didn't make this map. It's the community themselves which made this map. So where you see the location of, I don't know if it's an head of a lion, that's where they cited lion HWC incidences, and also the elephants and the wild dogs. So that's where Indian Semu sits, and that's where the proposed predator-proof bombers were constructed as a mitigation measures using data from SMART. So basically, once that data is collected, we will help the community in terms of reducing human-wildlife conflicts. So since coming up with this program, there has been a result of in 0 lions attacking the wildlife, especially the goats and the cattle. And we hope that it will continue in the future. So basically, those just as the construction of predator-proof bombers using data from SMART. As we try to merge or join these cooperatives into conservancies, SMART plays a very important role because it provides actionable, professional, and it's part of the large initiative, and of course it provides valid data. Of course, achieving some of these milestones comes the challenges, and for us, The first challenge was of course with funding, but now we are receiving funding, and the cooperatives are able to use SMART, and also we hope to use SMART for wildlife credit programs, and of course we hope to use SMART for camera trapping in these open areas, and also for sport transits. We've been using SMART, of course, for Panthera as a data-driven and impactful organization. We use SMART, and SMART is a foundation of our database. We use SMART in open areas, but we wish to extend that expertise and knowledge in open areas at community-based level. Of course, we use that going forward. We wish to use camera trapping and sport transits in this proposed Inyansemu. So I think I've come to an end of my presentation. I don't know if you have any question. My colleague Kim and I will try as much as possible to answer some of the questions. Thank you.
So I think we probably have time for one question, but like I said, also, if anyone's interested, we'll try to get as many of the presenters back together for an in-depth discussion at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So, any questions for Gift? No? Okay, so we will start up again in here at 10:45 after the coffee break. I'd just like to say thank you again to the speakers from this morning, so maybe just another round of applause for them.